And I think that this quarterback will finally make it to his first Super Bowl. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back into the Bears Den, an NFL podcast for the Chicago Bears. First Focus. I'm your host, Alex. Here today, it is Pick'ems Day, Game Picks Day. We're here, playoffs. And what I'm going to do for this video is I'm going to do my wild card picks. Those are going to stand as my wild card picks for this week. And I'm going to go through and pick the rest of the playoffs on how I think they're going to go. And then in future weeks, while we go through the rest of the playoffs, I will just pick the games for that specific week and see how we go from there. And we'll keep track of the record through the playoffs. But before I get into it, final record on the season, week 18, I went 10-6. So we're finishing the season 161 and 111. Not bad, right? Could it have been better? Yes, absolutely. But 161, 111, feeling pretty good. And, we will take that record for sure. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. I'm using the Playoff Predictors website. I use this website every single week to do my picks. And we will start with the wildcard picks. And these are going to stand as my official wildcard picks for this week. And then, we'll keep track of the record. We'll add that into the final records and we will see what happens from there. So, what we're going to do is start with the AFC like we always do. Chargers in Houston. This one's easy for me. I'm picking the Chargers this weekend. I think that Houston is maybe the weakest team in the playoffs this year. It's got to be Houston or Green Bay, right? And I just think that Stroud has been struggling. They've had a ton of injuries. They're missing a lot of their pieces on offense. And the Chargers, this is a huge game, right? It's not a huge game for Harbaugh. I mean, he turned this franchise around in 1 year, but this is a big game for Justin Herbert because some of the questions that have been going around with Justin Herbert over the past few years, especially after the playoff meltdown against Trevor Lawrence, was can this guy actually do it in the big games? Because, so far he's been kind of a regular season merchant. He will have good numbers. He will have, good touchdown numbers. He will play well. But then when it's time, for a regular season game where he needs to win it to make the playoffs, or he gets in the playoffs, he he folds, he collapses, he melts down. And so this is a big game for him to kind of right that ship and kind of get rid of that narrative because if you were to lose to Houston, who has been struggling, who is really injured, it's going to be hard to shake that narrative moving forward for the future because you're going to have the Jacksonville meltdown loss, and then you're going to have this loss as well. So it's going to be, even if he does things down the road. As I see, the Bears have just finished their interview with Pete Carroll. As he potentially wins playoff games down the road, there's still going to be those games in the past, right? So I think the Chargers will get it done, but it should be a relatively good game. Pittsburgh on the road in Baltimore, third time this year playing. I think Baltimore is going to win this game. I think that Russ has really struggled over these past couple weeks. Really kind of, just they've lost their dominance. And I think that Lamar is having the best season of his career. I think that he's really out there this postseason with something to prove. And I think that, at home, they got the fans. He hasn't really had many playoff games at home. I think that this is going to be a win for Baltimore. Denver, Buffalo. I'm going with Buffalo here. I think that's just props to Denver for making the playoffs. Rookie quarterback Sean Payton's doing a great job over there. I think their roster is decent. They're a couple pieces away, but I just think Buffalo is too good. I think that Josh Allen probably wins MVP this year, and I just think that barring some sort of Josh Allen complete collapse and meltdown or return to old form where he's just turning the ball over like crazy, I don't foresee that happening. So I think that they'll be able to kind of walk through Denver with ease. Over to the NFC games, Minnesota and the Rams. This one's a tough one because, a week ago, had you asked me or had you told me this was going to be the matchup and you had me pick, I'm picking Minnesota easily, but after how Sam Darnold looked against Detroit this past week, and I get that it's Detroit, but still, that was a game with pressure. That was really the first game with pressure that Darnold has had all season. Because, I mean, let's be honest, unless you were a Vikings fan, the expectations for Minnesota were not this high. No one thought that they were going to be a 14-win team this year, and so. Um, he was kind of just like, wow, he's surprising us. He's, man, they keep winning. He's doing such a great job. This is awesome. We didn't expect this. And then it's like, okay, we're playing Detroit for the 1 seed. We expect you to go out and win this game after the season you've had. And then all of a sudden, he looks like the old version of himself. So is that what we're going to get this weekend? Maybe. It's possible. I honestly like. I'm gonna go with the Rams. I think just the Rams at home. I think this is gonna be a Darnold meltdown, and I think right now Minnesota's in a very tough spot. Right? What do we do? Do we pay Sam Darnold? Do we go with JJ McCarthy? Do we tag him? Do we trade JJ McCarthy and give Sam a big contract? This game might make that a little bit easier to figure out. That's how I stand. We have Washington on the road in Tampa Bay. Now, Tampa Bay whooped Washington. That was week 1. So how much can you take from that? I don't know. Hard to say. This is going to be the closest game of the weekend, I think. And I think, believe it or not, I think Washington's actually going to pull this off. Tampa hasn't looked that strong. I mean, even last week, getting into the playoffs, they were struggling and fighting against New Orleans. And I understand that that's a divisional game, divisional rival. But I just think that this Washington team feels like they can win a playoff game. I don't think they can win 2 on the road, but they feel like they can win 1. And I feel like they got a favorable matchup. You can argue who's the weakest team in the NFC, right? There's people that will say Green Bay. I think Green Bay is, but there's people that think Tampa is. There's people that think the Rams are the weakest team. I think Washington wins this game on the road. And I think this will be close. I can see this coming down to the final play, potentially a walk-off field goal, potentially a 4th down with just a couple seconds left. But I think Jaden Daniels will do it. I think he will win a game. And, we'll see what their matchup is from there. And then finally, Philly Green Bay. I mean, this one's easy. I've had this Packers fan on my channel the last week who's been talking a lot of trash. And, you know, Green Bay has 11 wins this year, right? They were 1-5 in the division, and they were a fingertip away from being swept by each team in the division. I think the Phillies, there's an argument that Philly's the best team in the league, right? My concern with Philly is Nick Sirianni. But with Green Bay, you kind of see this every year, right? You see a team that is built to win the regular season, and then when it's go time, they really just don't know what to do. I mean, even this past week against the Bears, they had a chance. They're going into the game knowing that if they win, there's a chance they get the 6th seed. So they're playing their starters, they're playing to win. And with all their starters in pre-injuries, they're getting beat 14-3 by 5-win Bears who have struggled all year and have been in the tailspin since the Washington loss. So this is a Green Bay team, and that was at home too. This is a Green Bay team that I think is probably going to lose by double digits. I get that, Jordan Love had the great performance against Dallas last year, but that's kind of like 2 forces meeting at once, right? Like 2 of the same forces. Dallas is one of those teams that's built for the regular season, and then come playoff time, they completely collapse. And so one of those teams had to melt down. It was Green Bay, and then it was Dallas last year, excuse me. And then we saw what Green Bay did against San Francisco. Jordan Love throwing a pick late in the game. And I just think with Jalen Hurts, who has found his ability to protect the football this year, they're going to be able to run and control the game with Saquon Barkley. Jordan Love, at any single moment, he can turn the ball over. And I think that makes it really, really challenging to believe in this team. I think that Green Bay's roster is relatively close. I know that there's a lot of Packers fans that want Matt LaFleur gone. I think that's just absolutely crazy. But I think that, they are a couple pieces away. I think if they were to get like a true number 1 receiver, they would be a real threat in the NFC. But I don't think this roster is there yet. And I think you're going to see a big difference this week between Green Bay and Philly. So I think Philly's going to get that done pretty easily. So those are my picks for the wild card weekend. We will see how those go, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick the rest based off of just how, this bracket would lay out, right? so that I can compare and see how I did later down the road. So AFC matchups, we would then have Baltimore on the road in Buffalo. And I think that Buffalo gets this done, right? This is a big game. Both these quarterbacks would desperately need this win because they both kind of have the Herbert narrative going around too, right? Like they are regular season dominators. They put up insane stats every year. They look fantastic, but then come playoffs, when it's time to win the big game, they can't do it. And I just think, you know, two of the best quarterbacks in the league, right? I think that this is kind of one of those superhero Josh Allen games where he would just kind of take over and just dominate. And they're at home. The weather would probably not be great. And I just think that Buffalo would kind of suffocate Baltimore and get it done. Chargers on the road in Kansas City. These teams obviously played twice this year. It was close first game, like really close, right? I think that Kansas City would get it just because of home field advantage, but that honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me at all if the Chargers pulled it off. Um, I just think that Kansas City has been looking pretty solid and they'll find a way to get it done. Rams on the road in Philly. I like Philly here. Like Philly a lot. I didn't like Philly a lot at the start of the season, in the preseason. My biggest concern, I said it in the picks, the wild card picks, but is Nick Sirianni. I think the roster is really, really good, but at any moment, Nick Sirianni could cost you the game with a poor coaching choice, a poor clock management situation, a penalty, whatever it is. He is a risk, but I think that the team's skill and ability and the roster outweighs him and his ability to find a way to lose. So I just think they are better. They are far superior over the Rams. The only spot that the Rams are better in is coach. And I guess you can argue quarterback when Stafford is fully healthy and on his game, but roster's too good, and they're built for the playoffs with a really strong running game and a running quarterback. And then Detroit and Washington. This would be the end of Washington's party this year. It sucks that they would have to then go on the road to Detroit. They would need it would be cool to see, right? If in the wild card, Green Bay beat Philly and then Washington also won, because then Green Bay would go to Detroit, which Detroit has swept them for multiple years now. But then Washington would then go on the road to Philly, and Washington just beat Philly not too long ago. So there would be a world where if that were to happen, Washington could potentially make it to the NFC Championship game, which would be just crazy with a rookie quarterback. But I just think Detroit is too good. They're going to have Montgomery back, and they are going to get it done against Washington. Championship weekend, I'm going with Buffalo here. And look, I think this is the time where this quarterback finally makes it to his first Super Bowl. This is where Josh Allen will finally get it done. This is going to be a fantastic game, one of the better games of the year, and probably one of the better games of all time if this were to happen. But I think Josh Allen is due. He's having a fantastic season. The team is good. They're going to go into Kansas City, and they're going to get revenge for the 13-second game, and they're going to end the Chiefs' hope of a three-peat, and they're going to get it done. Buffalo wins the AFC. Buffalo goes to the Super Bowl. And finally, NFC Championship. Give me Philly. Philly on the road. I think that they just have everything going for them right now. I think that they are built for the playoffs. They are built for these other teams. They can control the game however they want. And, as long as Jalen Hurts is protecting the ball, they are going to get it done. So this is my Super Bowl this year. These are my picks. This is how I'm feeling before the playoffs kick off. Both the 2 seeds in the Super Bowl. And I have Buffalo winning the Super Bowl. I think Josh Allen's actually going to do it. I think he's actually going to do it this year. And he's going to quiet all the haters. He's going to win MVP. He's going to win Super Bowl MVP. And he's going to get his first ring. And I guess his second ring, because he also, got engaged to Haley Steinfeld. So congrats, bro. Lucky man. But I think that this is the year. This is the year he gets it done. And Buffalo wins their first Super Bowl finally, right? I mean, this would be such a massive year for Buffalo. After losing Stephon Diggs, not having a receiver for a bit, or a number 1 receiver for a bit until they trade Amari Cooper, I just think that they have all the momentum right now. They're the only team to beat the Chiefs. I think it would be such a wild story if they were to beat the Chiefs twice. And that's my Super Bowl pick. So let me know what you guys think down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Am I crazy? And always curious to hear your thoughts. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. I appreciate you guys, as always, tuning in. Bear down, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.